Welcome to Again World Top Entertainment. Today's movie name is Bodies, 2022. It's a beautiful day in the countryside, and girlfriends Bea and Sophie are driving to a mansion owned by Sophie's childhood friend David, who decided to throw a hurricane party as soon as he heard about the incoming storm. Bea is very nervous about meeting Sophie's friends because she's just a working-class girl from Eastern Europe, while Sophie and her buddies are all wealthy, but Sophie promises everyone will love her. When they finally arrive, Sophie parks the car and curses the old window that will never go all the way up. While she goes ahead, Bea stays behind to retouch her makeup by using the car's mirror, forgetting to turn off the mirror lights when she leaves. As soon as they make it inside, Sophie introduces Bea to everyone. There's her best friend David, his actress girlfriend Emma, Sophie's ex Jordan, Max, podcaster Alice, and her older boyfriend Greg the vet. Nobody was expecting them because Sophie never confirmed she was coming, but every member of the group is still happy to see them except for Jordan. To get rid of the tension and celebrate that they get to see Sophie again after a long time, Alice proposes a toast, and Greg opens a bottle of champagne with a machete he found in the antique collection of David's dad. Such a simple act is already hard for Sophie to watch because she's a recovering addict and can't drink with them. At that moment, it starts raining, so they rush inside to get the party started. While Sophie and Bea are getting changed, David comes to pick Sophie up to have a chat in private. Sophie can't help noticing David has a black eye. It turns out that moments ago, he had an argument with Max, who punched David before deciding to leave the party. David also seems to be rather jealous of Greg and Alice, judging by the way he rants about Greg for apparently no reason and doesn't allow Sophie to bring up the subject of her parents. Meanwhile, Bea wanders around the house and bumps into Jordan, who asks her to be careful with Sophie. Afterward, Bea joins the girls in the kitchen, where she feels very awkward while trying to fit in, but little by little she relaxes with the help of some alcohol and a pot cake. At least the other girls begin chatting with her, expressing interest to know more about her and her relationship with Sophie. Afterward, the party truly begins, and the whole group has lots of fun drinking, dancing, and consuming illegal substances. Jordan doesn't like watching Bea and Sophie dance so closely and asks Bea to dance with her, getting Sophie jealous in return. She needs to interrupt their dancing quickly if she doesn't want things to get tense again, and that's when Sophie comes up with the idea of playing with bodies. The rules are simple: each person will get a piece of paper, but only one will have an X on it. Having the X makes that person the murderer of the game, and after everyone hides, the murderer must find them and kill them by touching their back. Losers must lie down on the ground and pretend to be dead until someone finds them and yells bodies. Then the players reunite to discuss who did it. To start the game, everyone drinks a shot and slaps the person next to them. Jordan gets a little too enthusiastic about slapping Bea, but then Bea doesn't dare to slap David properly no matter how much everyone insists it's fine. To show her how it's done, David turns on Greg, but he crosses a line and fully punches him. Everyone is shocked and David gets called out, but they're too drunk to care and it's better to start the game anyway. All lights go off and the players run to hide while using their phone flashlights to guide the way. Bea is careful as she wanders around looking for the perfect hiding spot, but before she can find it, someone yells bodies, and the whole group returns to the living room to see Greg playing dead. Soon everyone starts offering their nominations for the possible killer, and David immediately accuses Emma. Jordan accuses David in return, which pisses him off and channels it into making fun of Greg. Hurt, Greg decides to go to bed since he's already dead anyway, and the group begins discussing their nominations again. Emma and David banter in jest at first, following the spirit of the game, but suddenly it becomes a real argument about their relationship and their lack of intimacy. Getting more worked up, David bullies Emma next, making fun of her mental health in such a meaningful way that makes Emma cry and prompts everyone to vote for him as the killer. Furious, David breaks some glasses before giving up and leaving the room. Seeing as the game is over, the girls decide to stick together and keep drinking while sharing slaps. Outside, the storm is getting worse, and a sudden flash of lightning makes the power go out. Fortunately, the girls stay calm and make a plan. Jordan will check the breaker, Alice will find some flashlights before their phone batteries run out, and Sophie will try to find David. Since she has nothing left to do, Bea decides to wander around the house again, and when she makes it to a room connected to the backyard, she freezes in shock at what she sees falling against the window. It's David, bleeding out of his neck. The other girls see it too and everyone rushes outside to check on him, but David isn't responding. All their phones, including the landline, are down because of the storm, so the girls decide to get in Sophie's car to try to reach a town and ask for help. Unfortunately, the battery is dead because Bea left the mirror light on, and this is the only car they have. The rest of the group came with Max, and he took his own vehicle with him when he left. Having no other options, the girls go back inside, and while looking for the generator, Jordan finds the machete covered in blood. Alice already has a theory of her own. She thinks Max came back in the middle of the night without telling them, and he and David had another fight. It turns out the reason for their first argument had been Max confessing his feelings for Emma under the effect of mushrooms, but Jordan thinks that information is irrelevant and wonders where Greg is since he was supposed to be sleeping, yet somehow he didn't wake up with all the noise they've made. Alice is offended at the implication that her boyfriend could have done anything, especially when Jordan goes as far as grabbing a knife from the kitchen, but she can't deny that she's only met Greg a few weeks ago and there's a lot she doesn't know about him. Still, Alice thinks she should warn him, but Jordan covers her mouth as a new argument on how to proceed begins and doesn't stop until the girls realize Emma is gone. The 4 remaining girls go looking for their friend only to end up in Alice's room, where they don't find anyone but do discover Greg's survival kit that includes a knife. Alice had thought he was just being careful in case of any hurricane-related emergencies. Next, they go to Jordan's room, where Bee accidentally finds Jordan's very cute yellow bra. It turns out Emma is here having a panic attack under the bed sheets, but once she takes some Xanax, she's ready to rejoin the group and go after Greg. They finally find him in the mansion's gym and learn that the reason he didn't hear anything is that he's been wearing his therapy mask and headphones. He came here for easier meditation. The girls act wary around him and Jordan even threatens him with his own knife, demanding an explanation for the go bag. As Alice had said, he only likes being ready for the hurricane, and at first, he doesn't take their concern seriously because he thinks they're still playing the dumb game. Once the realization hits him, he steals a knife from Sophie, demanding everyone calm down and put their weapons on the ground. To play fair, he puts the knife down too, but this only opens the chance for Jordan and Emma to jump on him. Greg pushes them away rather abruptly yet shows genuine concern for the girls because he's acting in self-defense. Sophie tries to recover the knife, but Greg beats her to it. This makes Bee think Sophie is in danger, so she kills Greg by hitting him on the back of his head with a kettlebell. A silent shock takes over the room until Alice finally snaps out in fury, still believing Greg didn't kill David, and Jordan points out that statistically, he had the highest chance in the group of getting violent because he was a veteran. This only makes Alice angrier as she explains Greg had been a vet as in a veterinarian, not a veteran, which doesn't speak highly of how much attention her friends pay to her life. Another argument ensues while Bee struggles to deal with what she's done, causing her to throw up all over her clothes. Sophie sends her to their room to change, and once she's alone, stress takes the best out of her and she relapses, consuming a happy powder again after a long time of staying clean. Sophie, Jordan, Emma, and Alice regroup in the living room, starting another fight over the Max theory. Sophie accuses Emma of not truly loving David and staying with him because he was a safe option, so Emma retaliates by confessing David had been relieved when Sophie disappeared to go to rehab because he wouldn't have to deal with her anymore. This is a low blow that hits Sophie where it hurts the most and makes her wish aloud that Emma had been killed instead. Crying, Emma runs out of the room, and Sophie decides to go looking for the really strong stuff David had hidden in his room to then take it to Emma together with an apology. To Sophie's surprise, Emma kisses her before leaving to take the gift in private. Meanwhile, Bee is washing Greg's blood off and changing into new clothes, and Alice begins wandering around the house to find out where everyone has gone. Something on the ground makes her trip and Alice ends up screaming when she discovers it's Emma's body lying at the bottom of the stairs. Jordan and Bee come as soon as they hear the screaming, and Jordan wonders if Emma tripped, but Alice is sure somebody must have pushed her. Once Sophie finds them too, the girls decide to go back to the living room, where Alice brings up the game again. The killer is still out there, playing the game literally like a freaking psycho, and they need to find out who it is before someone else dies. Desperate for answers, Jordan and Alice team up to accuse Bee, who is an easy target as the stranger in the group. Jordan confesses she googled Bee's name and didn't find her on the list of graduated students of Utah State, which is the university Bee had claimed she went to. Bee had also been the one to find David's body and kill Greg. Thus Alice and Jordan push her out of the house, casting her out in the hurricane. All doors are locked and Bee can't find a way back inside, so she runs to find shelter in Sophie's car, which she can break into by lowering the window that never goes up all the way. Once inside, Bee has some snacks and changes into dry clothes, only to freeze when she finds a very shocking item inside Sophie's bag. It's cute yellow underwear that matches Jordan's bra. This is now personal for Bee too, and while trying to get back into the house again, she looks through a window to find Jordan stealing a gun from David's dad's collection. Minutes later, she finds a pet door big enough to fit her and finally manages to re-enter the building. As soon as she finds the trio, Bee warns them that Jordan has a gun with her, but Jordan empties her pockets, proving there's nothing there except for her phone and the piece of paper that marked her as the killer of the game. Bee accuses Jordan of being the real killer too, but nobody trusts her after that university lie. To prove herself trustworthy, Bee offers an explanation. She did go to Utah State, but she had to drop out to take care of her mother, who has a borderline personality disorder. She only lied because she was embarrassed and didn't want to disappoint Sophie, who instantly hugs Bee and forgives her. The fact they're back together pissed Jordan so much that it prompts her to take the gun out from the couch where she had hidden it, pointing it at them as she begins to rant. She still thinks B is a psychopath, and when Sophie comes to her defense, Jordan reminds her that they didn't even invite her. Alice admits that's true and that they think Sophie only came to ask David to talk to her parents so they would free her trust fund. Wasting no time, Sophie retaliates by explaining she disappeared for a while because they were all enablers that wouldn't stop drinking in front of her, meaning she had to dump them if she wanted to have a better life. Jordan finds the idea laughable, and to prove the wrong, she tells B that Sophie cheated on her with Jordan, which he can confirm if she checks Sophie's text messages. The argument just keeps escalating from there as they insult each other and reveal a bunch of secrets while Bree watches them in shock. When Alice calls out Jordan's rags to riches story and says her parents are actually middle class, Jordan finally snaps and shoots Alice on the leg. In Alice's eyes, this is confirmation Jordan's the killer, and a struggle for the gun follows, only to end up with an accidental shot killing Alice. The gun is still in the hands of Jordan, who begins climbing the stairs to stay away from Sophie as she tries to come closer. Once again, B gets worried about Sophie's life and jumps onto Jordan to start another fight for the gun, which ends with B pushing Jordan off the staircase banister. Right before dying, Jordan reminds B to check Sophie's text messages. Now that Sophie and B are alone, B tries to have a proper conversation with Sophie about David's and Emma's deaths, plus Jordan's claims of cheating. Sophie swears she didn't do anything, but she's acting in such a weird way that it frightens B to such an extreme that it makes her hide from her girlfriend for the rest of the night. By the time the sun rises, the storm has already passed. B comes outside and is hugged by Sophie, who has the gun now and confesses to having given Emma that little illegal gift. Its effects made Emma trip and fall, and Sophie didn't say anything because she thought nobody would believe her. To her disappointment, B is only pretending to comfort her to gain access to the gun, which she next uses to ask Sophie for her phone. At first, Sophie refuses to give it to her, but then she takes it out to distract B and tries to take back the gun. Yet again, another struggle for the gun begins, causing the girls to fall into the pool. B is the first one to come out and she picks up a phone from the ground, only to discover it isn't Sophie's, it's David's. After unlocking the screen by pointing it at the dead body, the girls discovered the last video David recorded, which proves his death had been an accident caused by David trying to do cool tricks with the machete for his followers. As B and Sophie try to come to terms with the fact all of last night's deaths had been for nothing, Max comes back and wonders what happened. Not knowing what to say, B points out our phone finally has reception again. Please subscribe to our channel World Top Entertainment for more recap movies.